And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Oldgits. It's Monday once again, and we are ready for another show. Tonight we're going to be looking at a couple of videos that me and Bob have done of us rebuilding the RBA section of the Subtank. I'm also going to be chatting to Keith Morgan about the public perception of vaping and how it's affecting us in one way or another. And we'll also be having a look at another video that Bob's done of a Squonking box that he bought. And we'll see how we go from there. Well, straight away we'll see how Bob is first. How you doing, Bob?
Not so bad, Keith, not so bad, thanks mate. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, mate.
Yeah, pleased to hear it.
Surviving as you do.
As you do.
As you do. Right, we'll have a look at your Subtank video first, I think, Bob. So if you want to push the button on that one first, and we'll have a look, mate.
Right, Keef, it's on to you, sir.
And that was Bob's video of his Subtank RBA build. How did you find that RBA build then, Bob?
The build itself was easy to do. It's a very straightforward deck. Although it's small, I was used to, but sort of building on things like spheroid and other small 14mm lattices. But yeah, apart from that, it's quite easy.
Yeah. And how is it vaping now?
Yeah, it's still going. I've had it. I think I've rewicked it 3 times now. Lost count the amount of times I've put tanks into it. So, but yeah, it's working fine. It's
So it was nice and easy.
Yeah, very easy. One thing I'm starting to dislike about the Subtank in general, whether it's the rebuildable side of it or the pre-done coils, is it just keeps on spitting at you, and I'm starting to get the right ump with that, because you get a bit of confidence where it's not going to spit at you, and then you take a nice big mouthful or lungful and whatever, and you end up with hot juice going, and yeah, it's not pleasant.
No, definitely not pleasant, mate. So it's not a tank you'd use on a regular basis then?
Nah. I'm still using these kind of things, me Squonking boxes, so yeah, I'm still not a convert to that yet.
No. Still a dinosaur then, Bob?
Yeah, for now.
Right, so we'll now have a look at my attempt at rebuilding the Subtank RBA, which I thought I was going to have a lot of difficulty with. So let's have a look how I got on, shall we? Push the button on my video then, Bob, see how I got on. And that was my little video of the Subtank RBA build. Now, I found it quite easy, actually, compared to what I thought it was going to be like. I thought I was going to have a whole heap of trouble getting that coiled. But compared to some of the tanks that I've coiled in the past, I mean, like Keef and things like that, I found that relatively easy in comparison. And I mean, I've got it here now, and it's still at 0.7. I mean, I've only had 2 or 3 vapes off this since I coiled it. It's still working quite well. Let's have a vape on it. I think that's working quite well. No leaks. So I saw that Reggie put in chat that I was going to start cussing when it started leaking. No leaks yet, Reggie. But yeah, I mean, like I say, I was expecting it to be extremely difficult. Being so small, I've always had problems coiling small tanks, small build sections and stuff like that, but I don't know. I found it relatively easy. I mean, you said, Bob, that you found, I mean, you're probably more used to coiling than I am.
Well, yeah, I've you know, most of my stuff I have to recoil anyway, so I say, you know, I found it easy to coil because, you know, you do a spheroid, for example. It's a similar kind of setup where you put your coil in the middle and the legs of your wire either side. Believe it's the same as a Keef one as well. I'm not sure because I had one long time ago and didn't get on with it, so I got rid of it. But yeah, you know, I found it was all right. You know, I've got it working here at the moment. It's actually dropped its ohmage now. It's at 1.5 ohms, so it started off at 170. It stayed at 170 for quite some time, but it's all right. It's yeah, it does the job. Does the job.
Like I say, I mean, I was expecting a lot of difficulty, but I'd look forward to coiling this again. I mean, I don't normally look forward to coiling anything, to be honest with you.
So you'd coil that again and not worry about it?
No, I wouldn't. I've got no. Normally, if I look at a device and I think, well, I need to recoil that, it's sort of, you know, put it off for a few days. I'll do it tomorrow, sort of thing. But with this, I'd have no problem. I'd say, yeah, I'll do it now, sort of thing. You know what I mean? I mean, you were used to coiling Jenny tanks and stuff like that. I mean, I wouldn't have the first clue how to recoil a Genesis tank.
A Genesis tank is very similar to what you've already done with that. It's you wind your coil, you put your negative leg on, your positive leg on, and you know, put your mesh through the middle or whatever you're using.
Yeah, but it's the thing with the mesh is you can't have it touching the coil and this, that, and the other. I mean, I've tried with Jenny tanks before. I've had very limited success with them. I've had hot spots all over the place.
Yeah, they are. It's a learning curve with a Jenny. You know, my first attempt with Jennies is all evening trying to get this thing not to give hot spots, and in the end, it almost got thrown away. But I left it. Next morning, I tried it, and from then on, I didn't have a problem with it. It's just I don't know why, but it just sort of clicked and it worked.
But no, I've never gone back to Genesis tanks since then. I had that much trouble with them, and the taste compared to what I was using at the time. I mean, I think I was using CE4s and things like that at the time, and the Genesis tanks, the taste of the mesh and that compared to the silica and that of the CE4s was something totally alien to me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think with the mesh, it's for me it gives a slightly cleaner taste. to what silica does. But then again, it depends on what silica you're using. Some are different to others. So you've got to get the, you know, in my opinion, you've got to get the good stuff.
Yeah.
But it's finding it nowadays.
True. I mean, I've not used silica for, I'd say, over 18 months now. It took me a while to get into using cotton. I wasn't convinced. I mean, everybody on the forums and that was saying, yeah, cotton's a thing to use. But I wasn't convinced at the time because I was so used to using silica. And then I tried cotton and it was like, yeah, whoa, sort of thing. And then I've never used silica since, so.
Did you ever use steel cable?
No.
That's good.
I saw Dave Dawn using, I think he compared it to the brake cables of bikes or something, I think.
That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, it's good stuff to use, but it's a pain to cut, I've got to admit.
Yeah, you had to have wire cutters or something to use.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed doing that. Definitely. Right. I think we shall, we'll go to our first set of adverts now. And when we come back, I'm going to have a chat to Keith Morgan about the public perception of vaping and how it's affecting the public's view of vaping and how it might be putting off smokers potentially switching to vaping. So we'll have a chat with Keith about that when we come back from the adverts. So if you want to run the adverts for us, Bob.
Often imitated, never duplicated. Award-winning service and products from cloud9vaping.co.uk.
Dripper selection boxes now come in 0 and 3 mg strengths. So tell Dripper the kind of flavours you like and we'll send you 70ml of some of the world's most exciting flavours every month. With free delivery anywhere in Europe, treat yourself to a Dripper box today.
Dripper.co.uk.
Joytech UK are proud sponsors of vapetrails.tv.
And we are back. And welcome back. Right. Now I was pointed to this article the other day by Sav. And it was sort of talking about how the public perception of vaping is sort of more of a masculine thing. And how it may be putting potential smokers off switching to vaping. And I'm going to have a chat about this with Keith Morgan. Now, a lot of you might already know Keith. He's got a YouTube channel known as Organtium, and he does vaping reviews and juice reviews and such like on his vaping channel. He's also known as Papa K on Facebook. Got a Facebook group as well. So we'll bring Keith in and we'll have a chat about this. So welcome Keith to the show. Evening, Keith.
Good evening, Keith. How are you, mate?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Oh, very well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me tonight to Oldgits. Yeah, thanks for that. Oldgits. I just look old. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome, mate. Now, you've read this article.
I have, yes.
Now, what are your initial thoughts on this?
Oh, well, my initial thoughts when I first read it was, who's written this? And it's almost as if they were just trying to promote the bad side, the subculture side of vaping at first. But actually, once I read through it, there was a lot of really good, important points that were addressed in this. And some points I actually picked up when I went to, Vapers Expo and to Vape Fest myself. The whole... I mean, you need to remember, this is about a small minority of people that vape. 5% of us that like to blow big clouds, that do go to these big vape meets, and we like our big box mods, and are very seriously low ohm builds. But this is regarding a small amount of these people. But it was the whole idea of the advertising. I mean, look at yourself just now. You've got the Kraken on your flat cap, and that was brought up in this article as well regarding skull and crossbones and things looking sort of wicked and badass, and it's trying to give the advertisers are trying to give vaping this sort of super macho look. If you can vape, you're as tough as me, and it's not really what we're wanting at the moment. It's casting vaping in a bad light at times. But this is coming from the advertisers, though, really, not from the vapors themselves. It's you got names like Vigilante, Rogue, Spider Traders, and of course you get a lot of young, well, not young, but sort of new vapors. And this aspect, I imagine, would put them off, especially smokers, because smokers are used to the packet 20. And that's it. It's Embassy, it's whatever. But then when they look at vaping, and then they go into the bricks and mortar store, and you've got all these brightly coloured, very vivid imagery of this vaping culture, and a lot of smokers are like, "No, I don't want to be a part of that." No, but as sorry,
We don't get. I mean, smokers. I mean, going back to your point about the names of, like Kraken and. These type of badass names that the advertisers are giving to vaping. I mean, you don't get smokers going into a shop and asking for Kraken cigarettes or the skull and crossbones images on packets of cigarettes. They've got sensible names like Embassy and Regal and things like that. They don't have those sort of names on cigarette packets.
No, they don't. And I've noticed that some e-juice companies, they're even sort of producing their e-juices in skull-shaped bottles, which you look at, you think, no, you don't want to have vaping associated with something that's in a skull. It's, we're trying to promote vaping, we're trying to get people off cigarettes, choosing what, could be a healthier lifestyle. Or what are you going to use? Skull and crossbones or skull bottles, tattoos, big match. No, come on.
Well, having juice in a skull shape, but I mean, a skull basically is a symbol of death, really, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So having juice in a bottle shaped like a skull, that's not really the way to go, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm going to jump in here if you don't mind, because obviously being female in the vaping world.
No, you carry on, sir.
I mean, Dave Don mentioned in the chat, and this will probably ring with you, Keith. It's like saying that Hell's Angels represent all bikers. It isn't the way it is.
No.
When you're in that community, you think, I'm happy, this is good, this is fine. And yet, the bigger, wider community, if you walked into Tesco's, you wouldn't see a bottle with the sexy lady or the skull or whatever. You'd just see a little packet very clinical looking, and you think, which segment of the community do you cater for? Or should you cater for? Should you limit yourself to being the clean clinical, or should you be the wild wacky out there? It's a tough one, and there was a study recently, I can't remember the exact figures, but they were saying that there are more female vapors than there are males, which in our section of the online community, I would say there's definitely more male predominant than female, but for the wider community, it's obviously the other way around. So something's obviously attracting people. So it's a tough one. It really is a tough one. And as I say, from a female side, I don't like the whole half-naked lady thing, but I don't like it in anything, not just vaping. I think we've got past the age of sex sells, or I'd like to think we've got or getting past the age of sex sells, but it's still a fact that to a certain percentage of everybody, sex does sell.
Yeah.
And if it was a scantily clad man, would I be less or more tempted? I don't know. Please, somebody try it and find out. I'm up for that.
Yeah.
So it's definitely interesting.
I mean, you were talking about the hills. I mean, I am a motorcyclist as well, and motorcycling is a subculture in its own right. But as you said, you've got Hell's Angels, you've got racers, you've got the off-roaders, the BMW GS riders. I mean, myself, I like cafe racers, old British classics, and vaping is tending to go that way as well. You've got, the mass majority of people are using a Generation 1, Generation 2 vaping equipment, and then you've got us that are using, Squonking kits, rebuildables, heavy duty, high performance competition mods. There's so many different aspects to vaping. My main concern with this article and the way they're talking about advertising is we're saying to the government, look, we need to stop under 18s from vaping. But if you look at this advertising and it's cool to vape, that's sending the wrong idea out to young people. Really is.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's not cool to vape. It's just vaping to vape. It's not cool. I mean, yeah, if you're cool, you're cool, whether you're vaping or not. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. And it's the same as if you're a big tattooed person with big dangly things in your ears and stripes on your head and whatnot. You were that before you started vaping. You'll still be that when you're vaping. Vaping hasn't changed you into this person. That is who you are, whether you're vaping or not. And I mean, yeah, I don't like labels. I like them on bottles, but I don't like them on people. And I'm very much a live and let live, and I try not to judge people for what they do and what they don't do. But I know my grandma would be like, oh no, he's a scary one. But I mean, just says that about my brother. So you can't cater for everybody. But is there a line that should be drawn?
Yeah.
That's the big thing, isn't it? And
the line the line that needs to be drawn is at the advertisement, is at regulating the advertising of these juices, devices. That's where we need to look at. I mean, you're going to get the magazines that come out with your scantily clad ladies vaping, and I mean, the Birmingham Expo, there was women everywhere, and to me, I couldn't really stomach it. I thought, no, I don't want to see that. I want to see the devices, the juices, meet other vapors, and then you've got all these people sort of wandering around you, trying to shove bottles of juice in your hand, buy our juice, and look at me, I'm beautiful. And you're like, no, that's not what I want. We just want to vape. I started vaping because I wanted to stop smoking. That was the main reason why I started vaping, and it's the main reason why I do what I do on YouTube, to try and promote it, to get people to get off the cigarettes, look at different aspects of vaping, looking at the Generation 1s, Generation 2s. It's what you like. It's what keeps you off the cigarettes.
Yeah.
And if there's a subculture that's developed out there where people want to get into vape tricks and all that kind of thing, great. But the powers that be, the advertisers, whatever, and the vendors need to realise they are not just their only customers.
Mhm.
There is the bigger picture out there. But the subcultures themselves, I think, are brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely brilliant.
I
you've
mean,
got
look
a
at
point. I mean, you need to look at the bigger picture, like you say. There is more to vaping than just this subculture that say we are involved in, so to speak. And as you say, everybody needs to look at the bigger picture.
I mean, there was a Welsh, one of the Welsh Facebook pages had a cloud competition a couple of months back, and people from all over Wales sort of entered it. Second place and third place were won by Welsh women,
Yeah.
and the first place was a man, and the second place, the third place was women. I tell you, they were absolutely fantastic. The amount of women that actually put the videos up, participated, and were able to blow, we're talking massive clouds, was fantastic. It was really, really good. But you don't hear that. You watch, like V-God, they toured last week, didn't they? And
Yeah.
it was predominantly men that were, in the competitions, which I thought was quite sad because there is a lot of women out there that are really good at cloud blowing, at building really good performance coils, and probably better than men, actually, to be honest, for the women that I've met.
Uh-huh. I know when I first started vaping and I first started to try building coils, I mean, my wife Helen, she was much better at building coils than I was. I used to ask her to build my coils for me because she was a lot better at it than I was.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way it is. I can't build coils for toffee, but I probably could if I put my mind to it, but it doesn't interest me, so I don't do it. But I'm wicked at mixing up a decent batch of juice.
Uh-huh.
So my brother's always like, make me juice, make me juice. I really shouldn't have told him.
Well, my wife wanted it. I got a dripper last year. My wife really liked it. And I said to her, look, if you want it, you need to build, I'll give you the tools, but you need to build the coil to put in that dripper. And if you build it properly and you're happy with it, you can have it. First try, she built that coil and it was bang on 0.8 ohms, and she was over the moon. And since then, she can do a parallels, she can do a duals, and it's much power to her. It's really, really good. Anybody can do it.
Yeah, it's not a male-dominated thing. It's not a female-dominated thing. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
And if you do it, you do it. If you don't, you don't. And I mean, there's loads of comments in chat about this. And yeah, people are saying sex sells, but if it doesn't work, they'll stop doing it, which is, yeah, a valid point. If their advertising doesn't work, then they will change it. If it does work, then they're going to keep doing it, which, let's face it, the perfume ads, someone mentioned perfume ads, which are aimed at women, are probably some of the most provocative adverts out there. And
yes.
I never understand an advert for something that you smell, but there you go. So it's just one of those things. It's a community that is still incredibly young. Well, not a community, but an industry as a whole is still incredibly young and growing and learning as it goes. So I think we're going to see an awful lot of changes yet to come in how the industry itself grows. And this side of it will probably become a lot smaller as the main industry itself becomes a lot bigger.
Well,
I think it's inevitable.
You certainly don't want to know what my wife said to me when I started trying out the sub-ohm side of it.
Well, what was that, Bob?
It was a case of, why are you doing that? I said, well, I'm a dinosaur. She said, well, you're doing it like that and you look like a tit.
The only way that my wife can stick to vaping and keep off the cigarettes is she sub-ohms the 0.5 at 18 milligrams. And it's the only thing that keeps her off the cigarettes, because she can't go any lower in nicotine but if she does it in a plus ohm tank, she doesn't get the same nicotine hit. So she has to sub ohm that high nicotine, which no, I mean, when you go to a vape shop and somebody says, "Oh, what are you vaping?" and you go, "Oh, you have try it." The amount of people that have picked up my wife's mod, picked it up, and you're like, "No, don't!" It's just, I mean, we've known for a long time. I work in the health profession, and we've known for a long time that women, the fact that lots and lots of women smoke compared to men, and always have done for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I feel vaping is going to go the same way because more women smoke. They're going to try and come off with cigarettes, and they're going to go on to vaping. So, I give it and give it a sort of couple of years, and it's going to become a predominantly female activity, vaping. And even looking at the Facebook pages, there's a lot of men now that have stopped vaping and are selling their equipment because that's it. They've stopped smoking, and vaping's done what it's done, and they're now selling their equipment. That's
Could well be. It could well be. And as one other thing, getting back to the actual article where this all came from, is it anti-men? Are they trying to push that as an advert to encourage females?
Well, the whole article, do you mean?
Yeah, because I mean, I'm not going to say obviously that article it's an advertorial type article. It was funded by a specific company. I wouldn't give them any advertising for that. But it's just, I mean, when you think about it, yeah, we had all the Vapor Expo and the Dolly Birds and the whole it was very American. But when you actually look at UK specific advertising as such, we're not hugely going down that road when you think about it. So is it trying? I don't know. Is it anti-men? Interesting, isn't it? Makes you think.
It is an interesting point, that actually.
Makes you think.
So look, well, I've read the article a couple of times, and yeah, I'd have to agree with you. It's putting us in a bad light, yeah, and basically saying, look, we can do this. It's sexist. This is wrong. The conventions aren't necessarily appealing to sort of potential audiences, but need to look at the wider spectrum, don't they?
Yeah.
And of course, this company you're talking about, they've actually stated that they've hired female PR representation for their company. So in a way, I tend to agree with you there. This is an anti.
Yeah, I think the poor men are getting battered unnecessarily there. And on that note, Keith, I think it's time to take your second set of adverts before we start ranting again.
I think it is. Bob, I think we'll have the second set of adverts now, mate. Depth discussion about this in chat. Always good to see you having a good natter down there.
It is. There's certainly plenty going on in chat regarding this one.
Definitely.
It is. It's interesting.
That's, I think, looking at the article, there's one point in the article they bring out, and it's that vaping's not as simple as smoking. You see people going out if they've got their vaping equipment and they've got batteries, they've got a coil jig, they've got wire, they've got cotton, and they've probably got 2 or 3 different devices on them.
Yes.
You know, smokers are going to look at that and think, no, I'll just stick my packet of cigarettes, thanks. Yeah, I must admit, vaping, when I first started vaping, it was a hassle. But then again, it's something you get used to over time.
Yeah.
And you learn to pick that device that'll work all day long for you. And it's...
You kind of go with your hassle level. It's like, oh, I'm feeling pretty chilled out today, so I don't mind. I'll take this and this and this, and I don't mind. And then the days where it's going, oh, I've got a really busy day, so I'll just pick up whatever's easiest. I think that comes along with time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, when I first started, it wasn't that much of a hassle because it was just an ego battery and a CE4, and you just filled it up and took it out with it.
You see, when I first started, there was one thing that was vital to any vape, and that was permanently carry around a roll of kitchen roll with you. Because everything that you owned at some point would leak.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It was just a fact. So yeah, I much prefer it these days to how it was then. And I suppose, again, with buying your kit, you can sort of go to your hassle level if you want. If you want something that's relatively simple, get yourself a iStick and a Nautilus. Does a good job, much better than the starter gear that used to be around, and relatively hassle-free. Will probably get you through the majority of your day when you're out and about. Small bottle of juice in your pocket or in your bag, you should be good to go. And then when you get home, if you fancy getting into the more technical side of things, sit with your feet up with a nice cup of coffee, watching something on the telly and learning how to build coils and things like that.
Yeah.
It can, I suppose what I'm saying is it can be whatever you want it to be, really, can't it?
Oh yeah. I mean, it can be very therapeutic, I suppose, at times.
I find it very therapeutic. I mean, if I come home from work, I'll just open my jig box and I'll make myself a coil. Even though I've got a pretty good coil in my device, I'll just sit, coil away, and all my stresses just go away. And that's how I relax.
You see, I look at that and go, you are mad. I hate when someone goes, oh, that needs new coiling. No, 6 months is fine. I'll get another week out of it yet. It's fine. So no.
Oh no, every 2 days, got to recoil. Oh.
Oh, no. No.
That's
As
one
you
of the
can
reasons.
guess, Keith, Sav isn't one for coiling much.
Oh, no, I don't. I used to coil. I used to be quite happy, and then I bought a load of coiling jigs, a load of wire, 2 new atomizers, and a dripper, and I opened up the package and went, yeah, that's going in the drawer, and that's where it stayed, and I've never built a coil since. Ever. I've been on pre-made coils ever since. That's probably about 18 months now, and I had this conversation with Bob this afternoon, and he said, do you not think you'd see yourself building coils again? And I'm like, pre-made coils are so good these days that no.
Well, yeah, they are.
They're very good nowadays.
Uh-huh.
I'll still try and recoil them as well.
Oh, I just look at them and go, nah.
It's one of the reasons why I got into squonking so early on last year. Was I love dripping, but of course dripping and driving a big no-no, and that's when I found out about squonking. And well, I've got hundreds of them now, but that would be my everyday vape. When I go to work, I'm in the car and I've got my squonker, and that makes life very simple for me. Very simple. I've got my little bottle, I've got my RDA on top, and job's done. But again, squonking's another tiny little niche of the whole vaping picture.
It is, yeah.
It is. And I mean,
Talking about the whole vaping picture, don't forget, people in chat, September the 29th, hashtag #WhiteoutWhitehall, 11 AM, Department of Health. Totally Wicked will be handing over the petition. So, if at all possible, if you can be there at 11 AM outside the Department of Health in Whitehall, please, please, please be there. It would mean so much if you could show your support, not only just for Totally Wicked, but it would help so much to show the Department of Health that vapers don't just sit there and vape. We support these things. We are real people. It means a lot to us. So please, if you can be there on September the 29th, 11 AM, please be there. That ends this public service announcement. We now return you to your regular scheduled programming. Thank you. Yes, Sav, you were saying?
Was I?
I don't know, were you?
No. I'm sitting here minding your business. That's what's called being thrown under the bus, people.
Anyway, getting back to the article that we were talking about, they were sort of trying to say that this image that vaping is being sort of given could harm vaping as a whole, you know, given the upcoming TPD sort of regulations. Do you agree with that view?
It's difficult to sort of... I don't really agree with that view because it's such a small niche of vaping. As I said, when we look at the names, the labels, looking at the skull bottles, yes, definitely. And a lot of the advertising being focused more on the younger adult, the younger vapor, yes, they need to do something about that. But overall, you know, if somebody's covered in tattoos and got earrings and likes to vape at 8.4 volts, no, I mean, this article doesn't really affect them, really. I mean, we're looking more at the advertising and the promotion of how people buy the vape, you know, the e-liquids, the vaping mods. That's what we're looking at here. We're trying to stop the under 18s from being tempted into vaping. That when it comes to TPD, I think that's where this article points in that direction. What can the government do about it? Well, we're hoping that next week, once Totally Wicked put the paper in, you know, that there'll be massive changes in the TPD. Here's hoping.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But we definitely need to look at the advertising. We have to. We have to look at the whole scheme of this. I mean, vape meets are good. I mean, look at, you know, Vape Fest. What a night we had that night, sitting chatting. It was brilliant. I mean, I said before, I'm a motorcyclist, and I go to a lot of motorcycle rallies, and the experience, that was my first Vape Fest this year, and the experience I had at Vape Fest was exactly the same as I have when I go to regular motorcycle rallies. It was the same community, the same support for each other. It was brilliant. And you don't want to destroy that. You want to sort of build it up and sort of support it from all aspects. Sadly, TPD doesn't fit into that because it doesn't want us to meet and to promote vaping and have channels on YouTube and, you know, things like this. This whole you know, Vapor Trails TV, you know, that'll be a thing of the past as well. We want to keep the good work out there, the good information out there, get people off cigarettes. This is just a small niche. It's a subculture, and this. This document was done by a company, and yeah, that's all I've got to say. Really,
I think I pretty much agree with everything you've said. I mean, the only connection I can see between the niche community and the TPD regulation is that it is that part of the community that is doing the campaign and that is fighting against it. We are the ones that are being vocal about this. The wider community don't know what could potentially land on them. So yeah, we are the voice of vaping, if you like, but we aren't vapors. We aren't the only vapors out there.
No.
And that can only be the connection that I can see. And yeah, advertising. I think someone in chat pointed out, I can't remember who it was, I think it was Mark, pointed out that the Advertising Standards Agency don't even agree with things that TPD said.
Yeah.
So you think, yeah. And when that Advertising Standards document came out a while ago now, I read through it and I think there was only one thing in it that I had a slight sort of disagreement with. Everything else it made perfect sense. I was like, yeah, that is common sense advertising. And that's what we need. We need common sense advertising.
Yeah, definitely.
And just let people, as you say, have fun. Let people meet up and chat. So what if there's a group of vapors getting together? What are the things the worst that's going to happen? It's like, well, we're not going to hurt anybody.
Oh no.
No, we're not.
No, we're
You
just
know, I think
enjoying ourselves.
I think it would help. It would help smokers a lot to go to things like Vape Fest and, you know, vape meets and things like that, to be introduced to vaping in that way, see what goes on in the wider vaping community,
Yeah,
to sort of help them make the decision whether to switch or not, you know what I mean?
Something like Vape Fest or one of the Vape Expos or something, you get to see a look at a cross section of the community, because yeah, you've got the extreme vapors and trick vapors, you've got average Joe vapor who's happy on his ego, he's wandering around, and you've got someone with the world's biggest battery powered device, he's wandering around with his wife with everything that's got all sorts. They're all there, all of them are there, and you can. Why should we limit who we appeal to? It shouldn't just be to the safe little old woman who wants to get off her AD habit. The 18-year-old kid that only started smoking yesterday, he's just as entitled to get off his smoking habit as well. And if he's got big punk hair and weird things in his ears, so be it. He may be more attracted to a vendor that has big punk hair and weird things in his ears. It's all good. All good.
Exactly. Smokers don't all fit the same profile, do they?
Oh, no, not at all.
And we don't come in one shape or size.
Exactly.
It was somebody on my page today commented, because I was discussing this article, and somebody said that those, the vapors that like to cloud chuck and do competitions and like the expensive mods, that's very similar to smokers that like that really expensive Cuban cigar or that lovely hand-built pipe. There's niches in all sort of aspects of life, whether it's smoking, vaping, motorcycles, horses, whatever. We're all different.
Yeah, and no matter what, someone somewhere is always going to label somebody else and say, "Oh, you're a freak, you're a weirdo, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong." Sod off. Sorry.
Exactly. There's niches no matter what area of, interest you go into.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm very much, as I said before, live and let live. If it makes you happy and you're not harming anybody else, then nobody else's business what you want to do with anything.
If it wasn't for vaping, I wouldn't have met the hundreds of friends that I've met over the past 18 months. I've been to several vape meets, I've been to different shops, I've met Keef several times across the West Midlands, and it's just been fantastic. I mean, it's just, we have to promote that part of it, that we all support each other, we all stand together. But as you said, yes, it's us, it's the ones that stand out. We're the advocates for vaping. I've got patients, they're smokers, other vapors, and you mentioned sort of advocacy, and they're like, "What? I have no idea. Don't know about it at all."
Yeah.
Sadly.
So I think what we can conclude from the conversation is that article is a load of tosh and it's just clickbait.
Yes,
Yeah, thought as much.
basically, yeah.
It's just a fancy advert.
Mm,
Pretty much.
yeah.
Right, Keith, I'm
And,
going to drop you in it now, and now you can tell everyone what's coming up on Vapor Trails TV this week.
thanks for that, sir.
You're welcome.
Right, tomorrow you have Marco with Vaporscene. Then on Wednesday you've got Matt with The Cave. Then on Thursday you've got Dave Dawn with The Haze Hour. And Keith, obviously. And then it's the weekend again. Then back round to me on Monday with the Oldgits. Plus RY4 every night.
Yes, well done. It's good.
Obviously.
Don't forget our rifle.
No, I didn't.
You didn't,
Nearly did, but I didn't.
but you didn't.
So yes, I'd like to thank Keith Morgan for joining me tonight. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you very much, Chief. It was a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yes, we had a very interesting chat. Thanks to Sav for jumping in there and joining in with the chat there.
No problem.
It was good to get a female's perspective on that, actually.
It was.
And thanks to Bob for being chief button pusher.
No problem. I messed
And
up.
for jumping in and having your say as well, mate.
You're welcome.
And it only remains for me to say thank you all for watching and join us again next week. Thank you very much and bye-bye.